Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
It's a very special edition of Judd's Camp Notes today because he is perched inside the four walls of a conference room in TCO Performance Center right now, in the belly of the beast, in the dungeon of the dragons, in the octagon that is, I don't know. He's in the building, folks.
I'm on campus.
And Declan is showing the YouTube audience
this is my
picture
car.
of Judd's janky car setup.
Yeah, well, I should explain. So on Saturday, I went out to go to practice.
I can explain.
My window was shattered. Now, I believe it was the heat, the combination of the heat and the big storm that we had last week. But anyway, I found out from my insurance company they can't fix the window until this Saturday. So the options were, do I quit driving the car and forego Judd's Camp Notes, or do I power through it? So
I heard
when
the authorities found some blood
so when I get to
around
when I get to a place now,
Clung, clung.
I take the masking tape, I take the towel, and I tape up the car. So it's the back driver's side window. But just to be clear, when I'm driving, all windows are down so I can see to change lanes. So
you're just rocking.
I'm putting it on the line.
The wind is in your hair. You're driving down the freeway.
66 today, which actually was refreshing compared to the 95 it was last week. But anyway, the point is Judd's Camp Notes do not rest for anything. This is training camp. This is where you separate the men from the boys, damn it. And I'm out here.
Judd's going to be spending probably 8 hours at the Vikings practice facility today, just for you, the audience, Purple Daily listeners and viewers. And before we get into 5 things, now that we're a week and a half in, the Vikings have had a couple off days here. It's a good time for a big picture look at the last week and a half. 5 things that Judd has learned, that Judd's Camp Notes have learned here. But Roku, as you may have seen in the new opening intro on the YouTube channel, is America's #1 streaming platform, which you all know. In fact, I've been thumbing through the Peacock app on my Roku menu, just finding obscure Olympic sports to watch this morning. But not only do they offer streaming players a new lineup of or all of the different possible channels and apps that you could ever want, they now make smart TVs. Roku gives you access via their smart TVs to all your favorite free and premium TV. The new Roku Pro Series 4K TV automatically adjusts your shows and sporting events with Smart Picture Max. Roku.com to learn more or shop at a retailer near you. We're also giving away a 75-inch Roku Pro Series 4K TV that automatically adjusts color and sharpness for your shows on the Score North app. We're giving away a 75-inch 4K Roku TV. Score North app, listener rewards. Find it. Register if you haven't already. It's free. Better TV for everyone with Roku. Okay, let's do this. Let's count down or count up. Where do you want to start?
Oh, we're going to count down. So 1 to 5. 5 training camp observations. 10 practices. 8 I would call legit. So they're not all in pads, but 8 have been what I would consider to be practices that you can learn from. 2 walkthroughs, 4 in full pads, all in the past week because they couldn't start that until a week ago Monday. So let's start with the most important position in sports. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vikings' future is on the line every day here at TCO. I'm going to headline this one, Raising a Quarterback. Raising a quarterback. What have we seen from, most importantly, JJ McCarthy? Now, Darnold's important too because I do believe that he is going to start the season. But I want to talk about my first observation, McCarthy in particular, because, in the offseason workouts and camps, I saw him, and he looked okay. There was a lot of mechanical stuff you could tell to fix. He was skipping balls at times. You could see his arm strength from day one, but that doesn't mean that the passes were all accurate. And the progress that dude has made from, let's say, May or June to now August. Yes, he had a rough day on Friday, but he bounced back on Saturday. And the Vikings have done a very admirable job, in my opinion, of getting Darnold enough snaps to start. But Phil, as you've seen, getting McCarthy enough snaps to get really valuable experience, which, by the way, before you say, well, of course, that is not easy. I mean, Kirk Cousins, the #1 quarterback, ordinarily just gets all the work. And the backup gets some, but not like this. So it's a fine line to walk. I think that the Vikings are doing a good job. JJ McCarthy, to me, has been impressive. I will caution this, though. Coming off the good practice on Saturday, I feel like there's a lot of, well, he very well could start. Just dial that back. Kevin O'Connell doesn't want to pressure him. Don't forget, he didn't have a great day on Friday. Like, this is a roller coaster. This is a 21-year-old kid, and you're basically eventually want to give him the keys to the building in which I sit. This is Willy Wonka doing the tour for the kids, and then at the end, Charlie wins it. Like, that took a lot of work. So I would encourage us all to, like, before we're like, well, he's going to start against the Giants. Dial that back. But has there been progress? Has there been development? Absolutely. And JJ McCarthy looks the part. That's the most important thing I can say right now. He does look the part. I love the arm. The throws have improved. There's been there's been a smidge of first team work. That's not important right now. What's important is I think that there is a plan here, and it looks like it's a really fundamentally solid plan.
So Sam Darnold's going to fall in a chocolate river. Is Nick Mullins going to become a blueberry? What else happened in
Violet?
that movie? Yeah.
It was Violet, the one that like turned into a blueberry.
Dude,
and
she ate the gum.
Yeah.
And then Jaron Hall. What's the other one? I'm trying to think. I haven't watched
Jaron
that
Hall
movie
is like
in
an
a long
Oompa
time.
Loompa, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But he's
But
just him
McCarthy,
and Kevin O'Connell are
don't
just
forget,
dancing.
Charlie and his uncle also took something and like were floating
Like
up
the soda,
to the
right?
ceiling. Yes. And so like McCarthy's going to have his bad days. He's going to have his missteps. But the key is not, oh my God, he's got to start against the Giants. It's not even, oh my God, he's got to start in the first 4 games. It's the literal development and what we're seeing at camp. And like, how are you going to do that? And now, essentially, 10 practices into camp, Phil, I think that we can both agree there is a clear-cut plan. And I don't think that includes rushing him now.
Well, so how disciplined can they be? We've referenced that Joey Molinaro spoof a couple weeks ago on TikTok, Instagram, showing the progression of a head coach talking about the quarterback that he just drafted, and we're just gonna put him over here, and Sam Darnold's our starter, and then by the time you get to week 1, everyone's all excited to just cast aside the bridge quarterback. How disciplined can they be in this? Let me ask you guys this on that sort of note. Mm-hmm. Let's say JJ McCarthy continues to 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step back, but he progresses the rest of training camp. They put him into 2 or 3 preseason games, and he looks great in the preseason games. Do you want him to start week 1, even if he looks great the next month leading up to the start of the regular season? Do you guys want him to start week 1 or no?
I don't necessarily want him to. We talked about this on Purple Daily on Draft yesterday. I thought Miles brought up a good point. Once JJ McCarthy, you've wound up the toy and you say go, there's no bringing it back. So like when you start him, you're in. You're all in on him. It's not then going back to Sam Darnold if he has a rough time. So I'd actually and look, I know the Vikings do have a tough start, but even though it's on the road week 1 against the Giants, like I do think that's a winnable game for the Vikings, kind of no matter who is playing quarterback. But I would rather JJ McCarthy be brought along slowly. So if he balls out in the preseason, great, but let's just wait this out a little bit.
I think this is all incredibly, to use a 2024 football coach word, intentional. I think they're being very intentional, to quote the Vikings. So even if he balls out in the preseason games, I don't know that O'Connell is going to start him. I would love, and Kevin will not, of course, answer this question. I would love to know that, like, what is the trigger? Like, what would you see? Like, what are the 5 things where you'd be like, okay, he's set. He's not going to, nor do I expect him to reveal that. I would prefer, though, as Declan said, to be cautious, because if he starts and struggles and you take him out, no matter how you try to frame that, he's been benched. So, like, you literally have this package, this new package, and it's sealed right now. And it probably has an expiration date, used by opening week 2025, right? But if you unseal it for the Giants
if you're the Packers, it would be used by opening week 2028.
Jordan Love, I got a moldy Jordan Love here. What should I do with it? Throw it in there. See what happens. But I would prefer to be cautious here because I will continue to say, in my opinion, this is all about next year and doing whatever is best. So then when McCarthy starts, he literally has a chance to become like your 8-year guy.
You know what it is? I mean, just to my dad used to talk about, my dad lost a bunch of weight he got his life together in his like late 30s finally after being an alcoholic, and he ballooned up to 70 pounds over his high school weight, and he started lifting weights and getting in shape, and he stopped drinking, all these things. And so he always used to reference, I can't remember the original person who'd say this, but only the disciplined are free. And as a kid, I was like, okay, Dad, I get it. I'm like, no, Philip, you better be eating your vegetables and working out. Still working on that, by the way. But only the disciplined are free. Let's say your goal is to lose 100 pounds. And you start working out for the first time and taking it seriously 3 to 4 days a week, and you're eating clean. You're mixing in some cheat meals here and there, but you get to like 60 or 70 pounds. You're 2/3 of the way to your goal. But man, this is great. I think a lot of people get to that point. Well, I've lost 50 or 60. Now I'm going to start eating fast food again, and I can take a few weeks off, and that's how you fall off the wagon, right? You lose your discipline.
Yeah.
It feels to me like this is going great for the Vikings. Our plan was to slow cook this quarterback. Our plan was 2025, but man, he's kind of looking better than Sam Darnold in practice. Let's say he lights it up in the first or second preseason game and Darnold looks bad. Are you like 2/3 of the way or a halfway to what you set out to do, and now you just kind of throw your hands up? Oh, no, actually, you know what? This is good enough. This is good enough. We're ready to. Or are you really going to be disciplined through the entire 2024 season? And I'm telling you, I think based on the 4 practices I've seen, McCarthy looks like he's getting better. I think he's looked better than Darnold. Judd's camp notes have said a lot of glowing things. I just want to be clear. I don't care what happens in the next month. I don't want JJ McCarthy to start week 1 against the Giants, and I would prefer that he doesn't play a snap until at least the second half of the season. And if you told me, despite him looking really good in the lead up to the regular season, the plan remains he does not touch the field in the regular season until 2025, I would not argue the Vikings on that being the plan, even with how excited people are after the Saturday practice.
Yeah, I agree completely. And O'Connell, look, O'Connell has all of the experiences, his own, the one that he talked about with Dwayne Haskins, who tragically died, but who was drafted, 17th in the first round by Washington when O'Connell was an assistant coach there, and how they were going to hold on to Dwayne Haskins and be very careful, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, just start him. So, like, if anybody is going to be sensitive to it's not time yet, it's going to be Kevin. So, and the good news is this. Darnold actually, in the last 2 practices that we have been able to witness, Friday and Saturday, looked very good. So, like, he is giving them reason for them to give him a chance. So I think it's coming together pretty well. And for those, just to be very careful here, too, for those who say, I thought you guys wanted to win a Super Bowl. Like, why wouldn't you start the best? We want to win a Super Bowl. We don't want to see them make the playoffs and then get bounced. So, like, we're talking about the long play here of what is going to win a Super Bowl. And I think your window goes wide open next year. So, like, don't mistake this for we don't care about a Super Bowl. I tell you what I'm tired of, making the playoffs and then falling well short.
Yeah, I think like when Kirk Cousins was your quarterback for those 6 years, and when he arrived, he was in the middle of his prime, 28, and then he progressed into his mid-30s, one of the highest paid quarterbacks year after year. You had great weapons all over the place, a couple great defenses. Like year to year, the goal was win a Super Bowl. Or you're kidding yourself. If they were trying to downplay that, or anyone was. No, when you have that quarterback making that money and Mike Zimmer not getting any younger, right? Like year to year, the goal was to win a Super Bowl, and they came woefully short. Now the macro goal here, 30,000-foot franchise goal, remains Super Bowl, but realistically, there's nothing you can really do short of a miraculous run to be an actual Super Bowl contender this year. So it's about pulling the right levers and building it for 2025, 26, 27. So
exactly.
I think that's the best way we can probably put it. Okay.
Headline 2 is very simple. Ground and pound. That's right. The run game is about to have a renaissance with the Vikings. The run game is coming back. Now, just as like we could go through a bunch of stats in O'Connell's first 2 years here to prove that the run game has not been top of mind nor good. But the most important two for me are this. The Vikings were near the bottom of the league in 2022, Kevin's first year, with 404 rushing attempts. Last year, they were at 393. They basically abandoned it, and you can't. O'Connell knows this better than anyone. To be a successful play caller, you have to marry the two. You can't just go all in this league with one thing. As we have seen in practices, Phil, a ton of focus on the run game. Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler. I mean, hell, with McCarthy on the second team, Kene Nwangwu has gotten a lot of, pardon the pun, run as well. So this whole thing is to me not lip service this time, and it's not like, well, if it works, it works. I think that they are married to this time around, especially with Cousins gone, the need to run. And the other thing I'll say, and we haven't talked about this much, but one, Blake Brando playing left guard, and he is going to be your opening day, barring injury, left guard, is solely based, in my opinion, on the desire to run the ball. And we've talked about Dalton Reisner's PFF grades being poor in the run game. The other thing is Garrett Bradbury has gained 10 pounds. And if you look, this is the first time I've ever looked at Bradbury and said, looks like he fits out there. Like ordinarily he was sort of slight and get pushed around. They clearly said, dude, if you want to keep your job, and we could certainly talk to you, Booney, about this at some point in time, but I think we're going to see the return of power. I think the power run game is coming back.
Football.
I think you're going to see that line is bigger, and we could focus on Jones and Chandler, and yes, they're very important, but there's nothing more important to establishing the toughness of the run game than the line. And I think Booney is going to really like what he sees. But that's a second observation, is they are clearly going to put a priority on moving the football on the ground, just a lot of snot and hitting.
This is going to be tough for the Vikings and Vikings fans to hear, but I think it's fair to say in the 2 years of Kevin O'Connell, there's been some great bright spots, the 13 wins in 2022. So there's been some fun moments and some good signs. I also think they've been one of the softest teams overall in the league during these 2 years. Mm-hmm. You know, they get smoked in terms of like short yardage run situations offensively. Alexander Madison had 9 carries inside the 5-yard line for -7 yards, so not a great short yardage running team. Bottom 3, bottom 5 in most rushing categories defensively. They had by far the worst interior pressure rate of any defense in the NFL. They play indoors, like they're trying to be kind of a track meet team, but they weren't even really elite at that because they weren't one of the highest scoring offensive teams. So yeah, they've just, if you ranked every team based on how tough or soft are you, the Vikings would lean a lot further toward the soft end of that scale.
Absolutely. And I think that got exposed really badly. And this is why I think the philosophy changed. Those late season losses to the Packers and Detroit. Because, I mean, Detroit's tough. Detroit, I mean, if nothing else, Dan Campbell wants guys that are, that are slobber knockers, that are just knocking guys out. And the Packers, I think it was the game here, Jones had a big game. And so, or the Packers did. But anyway, my point is, I think that seeing division opponents physically take it to you was a eye-opening experience. And my guess is somebody said in this building, or a few people said, if we're going to have any shot to win a division again, we're going to have to match that toughness. So
what you need to do? Control the line of scrimmage.
Football.
Absolutely.
That's what you need to do.
Both sides of the ball.
That's right.
Both sides of the ball.
Smash mouth. It's a lifestyle. It's a personality.
Yeah.
It's something.
Did
you see, by the way, Bryant McKinney was in the house. He was attempting to come to the night practice, which got rained out. And he posted a video of the offensive line meeting room. And Booney always talks about the snack racks in these offensive line meeting rooms. and Bryant McKinnie, he was showing a picture of like some of the great recent Vikings offensive linemen on the wall, like Steve Hutchinson and Matt Burke, and McKinney's on there. But to get to that part of the wall, he had to go past the snack rack. And it's literally, if you guys haven't seen it, I think it's on Bryant McKinney's social media. It's a rack that goes from the floor up to the ceiling, and it's probably, I don't know, like 4 or 5 feet wide. And it's just every possible candy brand, granola bars, protein, meats, jerkies, sugary stuff. It's just everything.
It is, it is a license to be not fat, but really, really big.
Yeah, I mean, they're burning and churning.
They're
out
not
there.
just fat.
Their bodies are furnaces after these practices.
Which is why, like when guys like Burke and Hutch get done, they come back and they're like $180. Hey, everybody, I'm back. It's like,
instantly,
who are you? Who are you? Now, Brian McKinney's still big, but he was always a big man. Yeah. All right, headline number 3, the defensive dynamo. I'm not talking about a player. I'm talking about what we're seeing in practice again, year 2 of Brian Flores, the defensive dynamo. He now has, and you can see this, he now has personnel across the board more suited to what he wants. We are seeing again in camp different twists and turns on how he is going to make opposing offenses' life as miserable as he possibly can. And we have talked previously about the huge jump that his defense took when he was head coach with the Dolphins from year 1 when they were bad. Now, the Vikings weren't bad. They were bad. But in year 2, that Dolphins defense jumped way up the board. And we're also seeing, and this is what we predicted because he's smart, we're also seeing different looks than we saw last year. Prime example, Josh Metellus now playing more up towards the line of scrimmage. Like, Brian Flores is very, very bright. And Brian Flores knows that everyone's going to have watched all the film. And I think they did start to catch on late last year, plus guys got hurt. But we're starting to see more twists on the product. I am very eager to see, like when against the Giants, when this is all put out on the field, what has changed here? Because Brian Flores, we can all agree, does not slow down. He does not sleep. He just waits to beat your offense.
He does. Yeah, and once that legal situation clears with his lawsuit against the NFL, he's going to get another head coaching job. And he did a great job for a minute there in Miami. Can I tell you what my favorite defensive look was? I know we're not necessarily supposed to get too deep into like what we're seeing schematically.
The 5-man front?
Well, there's been some 5-man fronts.
I know.
One of my favorite ones was probably like a week ago in practice, and they were running some must-pass situations like 3rd and long, 3rd and medium, or 4th downs. And Brian Flores ran a 4-man front out. It was from left to right, Jonathan Grenard, edge rusher, Patrick Jones, edge rusher, Jihad Ward, edge rusher, but also 6'2", 6'3", 265 pounds.
And Jones is huge too.
Yeah, Patrick Jones is probably their second biggest edge rusher body. And then you had Dallas Turner as so you had 4 down, well, not 4 down linemen, but I think Jihad Ward had a hand in the dirt, maybe Patrick Jones, but you had a 4-man front, all 4 of them edge rushers, and your 2 biggest edge rushers in the middle, basically occupying an A and a B gap in there somewhere. Football. Dude. It was great. And so those guys, and I think that, to me, that is not something he's just trying. I think that's why you bring on Jihad Ward. He's a large edge rusher that can play sometimes toward the middle of that defensive line.
Yes.
And it's going to be a number crunching game with the edge rushers and the outside linebacker group that we're talking about here, because I just mentioned 4, but like I think Gabriel Murphy's going to make the team. Andrew Van Ginkel, who's also in there with the first team defense. Well, that's 6 right there. And are they going to keep 6 or just 5? Like, we don't know what the number crunch is.
Well, and just as far as personnel formations go, is Blake Cashman along with Pace going to be used more than Hicks was? Because Hicks was fine, but he was more of an aging player. Blake Cashman is not. So, like, are they going to stick with a 2 inside linebacker look more? Pace, I think, wears the green dot, so he's playing for sure. Like, there's a ton of questions, but this is what he wants. Like, this is the confusion. And this is what they don't necessarily have if you're an opponent on tape from 2023.
Yeah.
Which leads into my next headline.
Football.
Hold that thought for a second.
Oh, sponsored?
We got to remind. Well, I mean, we got to remind the audience about the party at Padres Brewing in Minneapolis on Wednesday, August 14th. An exclusive Purple Daily podcast recording, and just a gathering among football fans who enjoy the purple and enjoy a Padres beer. So it's only 100 people that we're allowed to bring in. And I think about half those spots are filled right now. It's free, but you must register to attend at scorenorth.com/party. The party at Padres, Judd, Wednesday, August 14th, scorenorth.com/party.
And if you want good Irish beer, including a red ale that's fantastic, this is the place for you. I've enjoyed a couple. I know this is going to shock you all the last few days. They are great. Also, Padres is located, if you're curious, the exact location is the old Lando Nod Factory at the corner of Broadway and Central Avenues Northeast. But it's going to be fun, and yes, we will be doing a podcast as well. So Judd's Camp Notes, his notebook will come along.
Hey, Nicolay Law has come along for the 2024 season. A shout out to the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop, and you may need a helping hand. And that's where Nicolay Law comes in. They are just normal, everyday folks, very relatable, regular people that go to sporting events. They just happen to have law degrees to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay. Russell Nicolay is here to help you with his team. NicolayLaw.com or 1-855-NICOLAY. And I have right here one of these AG1 travel packs that have been very handy throughout the last year. I switched to the travel packs from the scoops. The scoops are great too, but I don't know. I like throwing these in my backpack if I'm at work. I'm more of a middle of the day AG1 guy. Now, 97% of people in a research study said they felt more energy after 30 days drinking AG1. And how about this? 91% of participants said they drink less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1. So, if you're looking for a nutritional supplement that could change your game, each scoop of AG1 contains whole food sourced ingredients that support gut health, focus, immune health, and more. 7 years for me with AG1 in my life. And that could be you. You could start your AG1 journey. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/purple daily. That's drinkag1.com/purple daily. Okay, number 4.
5 training camp talkers, observations from the sports dad. Number 4, the headline is very, very, very simple. It's safety dance. That's right, safety dance, and here's why. So we know Cam Bynum's going to play. We know Harrison Smith is going to play. We know Josh Metellus, who's really not a safety. He's a positionless defensive player, but he's officially listed as a safety, is going to play. But ladies and gentlemen, Theo Jackson has made a huge bid. He has had arguably one of, if not the best camp, in my opinion, in camp. And that includes both sides of the football. He's everywhere. He's been outstanding. I told you guys that when the Vikings got him from the Titans last year in camp, I said, this guy looks like he's very smart. He's impressing. Well, he's gone from that to this guy on a lot of teams would flat out start. And I believe that Flores is going to find a way to play him at times. I don't know where. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to come with another safety coming out or somebody else. But, he and Bynum and Harrison Smith and Josh are so smart. Like, they are brilliant. Theo Jackson is not in a position to either pick off passes or just flat out pick off a pass because he is just athletically good. That helps, but he is in that position because his anticipatory skills, which if you look at every safety on this team, they work their butts off to have that, is that good. So I don't know when it happens. I don't know how the personnel scheme looks, but Theo Jackson has offered Brian Flores another alternative when it comes to what he can do, and Theo Jackson has earned the right to play.
Yeah, what an interesting, good problem to have if you're the Vikings. Like, do you... Because they spent most of the season with 3 safeties on the field last year. So when you say and I'm not pushing back at Judd's camp notes here. I don't know how you would find space for him if Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, and Josh Metellus are all healthy and playing at the level they were last year. And like I said, they mostly used 3 safety defenses with 3 safeties on the field. How do you mix in Theo Jackson? Does Andrew Bynum play a different... Andrew Bynum, old Lakers bust of a center. Does Cam Bynum switch to, because he played some safety and cornerback mix in college? Does he work in the slot or something? Does Harrison Smith just, instead of playing 1,000 snaps as an old guy, does he reduce snaps and you're mixing in Theo Jackson that way? Like, I don't know.
Perhaps a little bit of both.
Could be.
And you're not going to show that till week 1.
And maybe it just keeps Harrison Smith fresher if instead of playing 1,000 snaps, he plays 750 and Theo Jackson gets those scraps, and then you find other ways. But yeah, he does deserve some playing time. That's the conundrum here.
I can't help but thinking that privately there might be, as you just alluded to with Cam Bynum, Phil, that there might be a plan here to take one of the corners off the field at times in certain situations and leave a safety out there, but have him in coverage. Like, Bynum's not exactly this big, thick safety. Like, I think he could probably cover a lot of guys. The thing that impresses me about Flores is if you flash, and this guy's done nothing but flashed in a good way, he's going to find...
He's a flasher.
He's going to find... He doesn't wear a trench coat. He wears a jersey. He wears pants. It's all good. But he's going to find a way to play you. Like, that's the thing about it. That's what makes him special. Like, he literally took Metellus, a 6th-round pick, right? And said, I see enough in you that I'm going to make you a positionless player. How many coordinators do that? There's some. I'm not saying it's across the board, none. But a lot would be like, oh, boy, I'd love to play him, but how am I supposed to play him? I got 2 guys at safety. So I think Theo Jackson is in a perfect spot where he's going to be rewarded for the fact that his football intelligence appears to be off the charts.
Just for fun, can we a little bit of developing breaking Vikings news?
Yeah,
sure.
Before we get to the 5th item here,
sure.
They did release the first unofficial depth chart of the season while we started recording podcasts this morning.
Oh, for the preseason game, okay.
Yeah. So just curious Theo Jackson is one of them, but quarterbacks, starter Sam Darnold, and then backups JJ McCarthy or Nick Mullins.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
It literally says this is on Vikings.com. Backups JJ McCarthy or Nick Mullins, and then Jaron Hall.
Yep.
Off in a different category.
Yep.
Running backs, I don't have to run through all these. Aaron Jones, the starter, and then the backups are everybody else. Wide receivers. Okay, it's Jefferson, Jordan Addison as the starters. Mm-hmm. Then it's Jalen Naylor and Brandon Powell as the direct backups.
That's what we expected.
Tristan Jackson, Jeshaun Jones, and Trent Sherfield Sr. are next.
Jones has been good.
Then it goes Lucky Jackson, Ty James, Thayer Thomas, Malik Knowles after that group.
Not going to work here.
Naga.
Not going to work here.
Okay, tight end starter TJ Hawkinson, but obviously on a side field working out. Then it's backups Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt.
Okay, so he's the
Nick Muse, Robert Tonyan, and these are all just kind of in order. Yeah. N'Keal Harry. Okay, offensive line. They have tackles Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill as the starters, and then the backups are in order. Walter Rouse at left tackle.
Interesting, because I told you Quessenberry was used in place of Darrisaw at times on Saturday at left tackle, so I'm calling a little bit of hanky-panky here.
Quessenberry, the backup right tackle.
Okay, Quessenberry is then the backup at both left and a right tackle, and they're choosing not to list it like that.
And then interior offensive lineman starters, Blake Brandel, Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram. Backups in order, Michael Juergens at left guard.
Yep.
He's also the 3rd-string center from what we've seen.
Correct.
Rookie. Dan Feeney, the center, and then Dalton Reisner, the backup right guard. And then everybody else. Okay, defense, outside linebackers, starters, Grenard and Van Ginkel. Backups, Patrick Jones and Dallas Turner. Then, interesting, Gabriel Murphy and Jihad Ward.
Yeah, that tracks, though.
And then after that, it's Owen Porter, Andre Carter, and Bo Richter in a group.
So Carter's going to get cut right now.
Right now, Carter.
If we were to do cuts right now.
Yep, and then Porter and Bo Richter, both undrafted free agents.
Practice squad.
Yep. Okay, defensive line, starters, Jerry Tillery, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Bullard. Backups, James Lynch, Jaquelin Roy, and Jonah Williams. Gap, Levi Drake Rodriguez, and everybody else. So, but he's mixing in with the starters at
Right,
times.
they're allowing him to press, yes.
Inside linebackers, Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., the starters. And the backups are KGH and Brian Asamoah, followed by everybody else. And then cornerbacks, this is where it gets really interesting, the secondary. Shaq Griffin and Byron Murphy Jr. are your starters. Your backups are Caleb Evans and Fabian Moreau.
Yeah, that's
And then
accurate.
And then another level is Andrew Booth Jr., AJ Green III, and Jacoby Francis.
Yep.
And then the group after that is Jalen Williams, Duke Shelley, Dwight McLaughlin, and Najee Thompson.
Yeah, so they might try and cut McLaughlin and get him through the practice squad then.
Yeah.
If
And
that's-
then safeties, your starters are Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum. Your backups are Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson.
Yep.
And then the next line is Jay Ward and Lewis Seen. And then Bobby McCain holding up the back end there.
Yeah, I buy that.
So
I buy that.
there's your depth chart. What about the punters?
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Right,
Seth Vernon
I'm sure
is
it's
the backup.
I'm sure. Yeah, and that is.
Oh,
gonna
kick
look
return.
Like
Kick return.
Yep.
Your starter, Kene Nwangwu.
Yep.
Backups, Ty Chandler, Brandon Powell. And then your punt
Okay.
returners, starter Brandon Powell, backup Jalen Naylor.
Right, but the kick returner, you're actually going to have two starters now, or two first team guys. So, it's the kick returner will now be two guys. The one thing on the offensive line where I believe there's a small little white lie going down is Quessenberry is the backup at both tackles, then the primary one, and Reisner's the primary backup at both guards, because he is by nature a left guard. They've used him for the first time, essentially, he says, in his life at right guard. So he's the swing guard, and Quessenberry's the swing tackle.
Some really good stuff here.
That's interesting.
This is the
Football.
meat and potatoes
That's interesting.
depth chart right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 5.
Oh, number 5 is third wide receiver. Who's going to catch the ball there? You just said it, and I do think that Naylor has that job. The most interesting thing in the depth chart, because the question is, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Brandon Powell, and Naylor right now have this team made. Last year, out of training camp, the Vikings kept 6 receivers. My assumption has been, since he was signed as a free agent, Trent Sherfield Sr. is going to be the 5th guy, and then I didn't know about 6. But that depth chart indicates that Sherfield doesn't have a job locked up, which is very possible, leaving 2 open spots. And the name of Deshaun Jones that you said, another in a long line of UDFAs out of Stephon Diggs' school, Maryland, has had a very good camp. And I think he is among those vying to make the roster in either that 5 or 6 spot, especially if Sherfield's job is not guaranteed. I also think by opening day, if things continue, it very well could be a case of Naylor is the 3 and Powell is the 4. And as we've discussed, I think that makes a lot of sense if you trust Jalen can A, stay healthy, and B, can perform the third receiver duties, which do call for quite a bit.
It feels like there's 4 locks at wide receiver right now to make the roster. Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, Powell. And then it depends on, they're going to keep at least 5. Sometimes they keep 6 receivers.
I bet they keep 6 again.
So if they keep 6, you got Tristan Jackson, Jeshaun Jones, Sherfield, all sort of battling in that next tier. And then, I'll say this, he's not listed on the depth chart, but Thayer Thomas has been mixing in with the punt returners too. So maybe they're just seeing what value they have there. But it feels like Jalen Naylor has gone from, can he stay healthy, to he's legitimately the 3rd wide receiver in these practices so far. So
the two locks now, in my opinion, from guys that we were questioning largely because they couldn't stay healthy coming into camp, Wangwu and Naylor make the team.
What about Asamoah? We were kind of questioning him too. I think
he makes the team, special teams. And the advantage that Sherfield would actually have is he is a really good downfield blocker at receiver and special teams guy. So like those are things. I guess the question is, if you think that you have a receiver that you really like and is not going to get through the waiver process, do you cut Sherfield to keep him? But Sherfield probably gives you more stability. So unless the Vikings love a receiver and say, you know what, if we try and cut him, he's going to be claimed. And that day, because the wire is just packed with players, teams do sneak guys through. But I would still not be surprised to see Sherfield make this team.
Yeah. Well, just know, if you're Sherfield and you wind up getting cut, it just means extra time for you to hang out at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, where screw the Purple Vikings. If you get cut, you can go hang out with actual Vikings. Real Vikings at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. Open weekends, Saturday and Sunday, starting August 17th through the end of September, plus Labor Day and Festival Friday. You can throw axes, wield swords, watch live armored combat jousting. Tasty turkey legs, beer and wine, 16 stages of entertainment. Discounted tickets at renaissancefest.com. That's renaissancefest.com. You can also register in the Score North app, the listener rewards section, for your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to the Renaissance Festival. That's the listener rewards section of the Score North app. Great job here. Judd's camp notes. He's got a window busted out.
Nothing's stopping me.
He's posting up at the Vikings practice facility hours before any actual action takes place, all to deliver great, entertaining, and insightful content for you, the Purple Daily audience. So, nice job, Judd.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yep, nothing's going to stop me. You know why? Because once the football train starts, you don't get off.
Oh, inject it.
You don't take
veins.
breaks. You don't get off. You know what you say? The window's broken. I don't care. The dog is hungry. I can't care. There's only one thing I care about right now, and that's what's
snorting
happens.
the 20-yard line.
Exactly right. I'm going to go across the 20-yard line. I'm going to tell O'Connell to stop practice right now. I'm going to snort the whole damn thing.
What's Judd doing? He's snorting the 50-yard line.
And no one's surprised.
Daily Vikings entertainment and Judd's camp notes here. We just want the Vikings at some point to win a Super Bowl before we die.